Good morning. My name is Terrell Harris, one half of the leadership team of the Open Box, where our vision is to make wholeness more accessible. Today's message comes from Genesis chapter 1, verses 3 through 5, and it reads as follows. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning. This was the first day. Today's message is entitled, How to Rekindle Your Flame. In this section of text that we're looking at today, it's the beginning of Genesis, and God is in the midst of creating the heavens and the earth. For conservative Christians or conservative Bible believers, some of them actually believe that God actually formed the earth in a 7-day period. For those who are a little bit more liberal, we probably tend to think that God, or who we believe to be as God, shaped and molded the earth over millions of years. So this particular text lets us know that God saw that light was good, and as a result of that, God separates the light from the darkness. Now, there's something a little bit more poetic about this passage as we dig into it. So this is the first time in the Bible that we see light and darkness referenced. If we look throughout the Bible, we notice that there's word plays or there's metaphors on the terms light and darkness. Light is often referred to as holy or righteous or good, and darkness usually takes the place of evil when you search throughout the biblical text. We also see light referred to as fire or flame. God uses light and flame references, or Christians use light and flame references all the time. We hear songs sang in church saying that, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I'm not even going to try to sing that because my singing voice is horrible. And we also see preachers tell us or proclaim to us that we have to be on fire for God. Now, what exactly happens when this fire or this light goes out? Or what if it's never lit? What are we doing when we are in those situations? Well, Jesus lays it out pretty simple. And he says in John 8, verse 12, that I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have light and have the light of light. The end. Pretty simple, right? So my job is over. Well, maybe not, because it's not that easy. Jesus makes it simple, and sometimes we as Christians think that if we just follow Christ, that our situations will be lit up and we'll always stay on fire for God. But I would argue against that sometimes that's kind of hard. In order for us to avoid overwhelmingly dark situations, we have to take steps to ensure that our flame and candle does not go out. If our candle is out, or our light is dimming or dead, we have to position ourselves next to someone who is lit up, or someone who is shining, or someone who's already on fire. So this is how it works. For me, for those people who know me or grew up with me, I never had a desire to do any of this. I thought I was going to either have a job in computers, which I did have or do have currently, or I thought I was going to be a superstar basketball player or baseball player. So fast forward, I'm in my late 20s, my 30s. I'm going to church. I'm involved in church. There's a point where I actually read the Bible cover to cover for myself when I turned 30. So what was happening for me, church didn't have the same effect for me. So, sometimes when you dig into the text and you study the text yourself, sermons may not have the same impact because oftentimes you could tell where the sermon is going. So that's exactly what was happening for me. I could tell where the sermons were going, but I became more so a worker bee. So for me, I was in the audio video ministry, and my primary purpose for showing up to church on a weekly basis was to help out and was to do the video production for the service. So I remember meeting my wife Brooke, and at that particular time she was in her first semester of seminary, and we began to have discussions about some of the stuff that she was learning. And what happened is I began to pick up more and more of an interest into actually really digging into some of the stuff she was learning. So she passed me one book. I read it, kind of devoured it real quick. She passed me another book, and then 20 books later, you know, like my flame or my desire to learn more and study more about God had been lit, or it had been actually really set ablaze, because then I kind of just dove into seminary, not even thinking about what I was actually doing. So her light that she had, or the candle that she had lit, you know, me positioning myself next to her, or God actually putting us together, lit me on fire. Because, you know, I tell people this all the time. If it wasn't for me being close to Brooke or next to Brooke or in a relationship with Brooke, I seriously doubt any of this would be taking place right now. So when we position ourselves next to somebody on fire, we have a potential to catch flame. And actually, there's an interesting quote from Gandhi. He says, "1,000 candles can be lit or lighted from the flame of one candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened." So this is how it actually works. Now it's simple. We have a lighter. When there's somebody already on fire, all we have to do is position ourselves next to this person, and the candle is lit. Pretty simple. There's nothing hard about it. The person who's on fire really doesn't have to do much but touch this other person. We don't have to bash them over the head with the torch, because that could cause some damage. And it's pretty simple. Now, this one candle, or this one torch, has the power to light 1,000 torches, just like Gandhi said in this particular quote. Now, I actually was a part of a candle lighting ceremony this past Christmas, where I was doing my internship, and it was interesting to see about a congregation of 200 people have their candles lit from actually one big lighter. So what happened was, they turned down the lights in the sanctuary, and they passed maybe 2 of these out, and they lit about 2 or 3 candles. And then what we were to do as the congregation was to turn to our neighbor left and right, and then light each other on fire. So what happens is the fire that somebody else had actually helped to light somebody else up. So when we're in these dark situations, or we're in these dim situations, we have to position ourselves not around people who are dark, but around people who are already on fire, or who are already shining their light. Now, there will be times in our lives when things will seem dark and gloomy. Our relationships with our family and friends may be a little bit off. Our job situations may be crazy. We may be overwhelmed with bills. We may be struggling in school, or simply just feeling miserable or lonely. This overwhelming feeling of misery and darkness will have a negative impact on not only our mental state, but also our spiritual and physical well-being as well. In order to overcome this, simply surround yourself by somebody who is lit up, or somebody who's already on fire for God or for Jesus, and you'll be guaranteed to eventually catch fire, just like the candle, or just like those who carry around the little candles or the little lights. When you catch fire, now when you're already lit up, what your job to do is, you're not to be stingy with this particular light. What you're supposed to do is position yourself next to somebody who seems a little dim, or seems a little dark. You simply touch them, and you continue to pass the flame around. This way, you set the whole atmosphere on fire. Amen. Now let us close with a word of prayer. God, we thank you for the opportunity to hear your word. We ask that you rekindle a flame for those who may be feeling that there is a dark period in their lives. We ask that you rekindle a flame for those who may have lost their way to you. We also ask that you rekindle a flame in those who may be feeling a little bit down and a little bit faithless. We ask that you set us on fire in a way that we're able to recognize you, and also in a way that we're able to recognize others. We also ask that you move the darkness out of our lives. Give us the courage to step outside of our circle of friends who may be pushing dark on us, and give us the courage to also step into new situations to where we know people who are on fire for Christ or on fire for God. but we may be a little bit nervous about approaching them or positioning ourselves in new circles. So we ask that you remove that fear as well. And we ask your peace, blessings, and mercy upon us as we continue to grow in our faith. This we ask in your Son's name. Amen. Peace and blessings. Y'all have a good day.